Now, a section of the civil society in Mombasa have condemned the government's latest assault on human rights organizations, claiming it is a deliberate attempt from Mombasa.
Indeed, Akisa, that discussion has been devolved here in Mombasa, and today the civil society organizations under the umbrella, the civil society network of the coast region sat and discussed that particular issue, of course, expressing their views and also condemning what has happened to AFRICOG and also the Kenya Human Rights Commission. They are describing this as an affront to the Constitution. They're saying that their rights are being violated, and they call this a brazen and an unlawful attack on the civil society movement in Kenya. They are not quite happy, and they've raised their own issues, of course, questioning the timing and raising a lot of storm around this subject. And you may want to remember that the civil society plays a of course, in connection to some of the accusations that they have been leveled against them. They were connected to be having a hand in financing terror group Al-Shabaab. And of course, they cleaned their name from that particular issue. And this time around, they seems to be standing in solidarity with their counterparts. And that is why they held a press briefing today. Let me bring in here a political analyst based in Mombasa, Maimuna Mwidau, to just give us a bit of perspectives around this subject. Karibu sana, madam. Let's begin by, what do you make of these latest attacks on AFRICOG and Kenya Human Rights Commission?
On Tom, I think it's very sad that this has to happen at this particular time in the history of our country. We've just come from an election. Thank God we've come out back in action. I think we needed sobriety. The timing of an attack on a civil society organization is wrong, and the procedure too is not right. Civil society organizations speak for the people. That is why they are called civil society organizations. So an affront to a civil society organization is bound to bring about very negative emotions among the public. I've been myself in the civil society, and I know that they do a lot of work on behalf of the people. Actually wrong.
Yes. You bring up an interesting topic on the timing. And of course, we've seen civil society groups kicking the storm regarding the question of police brutality, of what happened in the post-election violences, or the pockets of violence that happened in the country. They appear to give some figures, the deaths that occurred from these brutalities, and something that appeared to clash with what the state was saying. You find any rationale in joining the dots between what is happening?
Civil society, by law, they are actually supposed to represent the people. So if they are seeing things happening that are not right, then it's their position to speak for the people against an organization. I think as a nation we have matured, and we need to mature in the way we do our business. Civil society will always be there for the people, and if an organization is not doing the right thing, there are processes and procedures to be followed. We are not a banana republic. I think we've come a long way, and I think the NGO board needs to do things better.
Let's deviate a little. Here in the coast region, what's your assessment on the civil society space here in the coast region? Of course, connecting with the events that have been happening. The coast has had its fair share of issues down here, and we've seen civil society groups up in arms. Do you consider perhaps that space shrinking? How will you assess that?
I don't see the space. I have gone through the same process AFRICOG is going right now, and if there was any fear at all, probably they would have shut down by now.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. All right, there. Maimuna Mwidau, a political analyst based in Mombasa, giving her views around what is happening with AFRICOG and the Kenya Human Rights Commission. And of course, all eyes on how this story will be developing. Back to you, Akisa.
Well, Francis, before you go, just shortly, I'm going to have a conversation on the tourism industry with Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala. Just give us a state update on how things are in Mombasa or the coast region in totality.
Question again, Akisa?
Francis?
Well, Akisa, it's a bag of mixed fortunes and mixed affairs down here in the coast region. There are hotels registering some very positive numbers, especially with the domestic tourists. But there are hotels that are actually closing down, and they're raising a lot of issues to do with what is happening with the state of the election having affected a bit the visitor numbers. But by and large, the prospects look bright. Talking at some of the top stakeholders in the tourism industry down here, there is a new event that appears to have rejuvenated tourism down here. There is the comeback of the Blue Panorama airliner that had ceased operations a couple of years ago, and that has sparked a lot of hope in the industry. You talk to down what many analysts may tell you is well connected with the affairs of the election fever that is already in the country. But by and large, things are quite okay. Most hotels are registering fairly good numbers as far as visitors are concerned. Akisa.
Francis, thank you for that update. Let's now have that conversation with CS for Tourism, Najib Belala, who now joins us live from our city center studios as we just take a